We are here live at ASN, American Society of Nephrology Conference 2023 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And what's great about being here, you're starting to see a lot of advancements and innovations in kidney care. And it's kind of exciting to be a nephrologist, to be honest with you, to see all this innovation. But who are the players behind that innovation? Well, I have one of them here today. I have Dave Kuraguntla. He is the CEO and co-founder of Alio.
Yeah.
Dave, welcome, and please tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
Thanks so much, Qasim. It's great to be here. Like you said, it's certainly an exciting time for nephrology. We're seeing a lot of really rapidly shifting landscape. I think transitions towards value-based care, transitions towards home, and I think that's leading to an embracing of innovation.
Yeah.
I think for both of us, I was, med school about, I guess, almost 15 years ago now.
Wow.
A little over 10 years, I guess, 12 years.
Yeah.
And at that time, a lot of innovations in surgery and some other areas, but getting a chance to, from my background, was headed off to a surgical residency and got a chance to see the patient problem firsthand. Very interested on the vascular access side, and that's actually what led to initially a innovation around monitoring the access.
Yeah.
For a blockage.
So you're a procedure guy, right?
So yeah, so came from that background.
Yeah.
And then have
Yeah.
actually, we made a couple pivots along the way.
Yeah.
Have a lot to, but we've now here focused on kidney disease, and it's been a really fun
That's
journey.
interesting. So like, I always find the entrepreneurial journey just as amazing as the final product.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Just going through that and all the crap you've been to, and you've told me it, but like, kind of rehash that. Like you got it, you left, you got into innovation. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, it was tough, right? I mean, I think from the standpoint of when you're a kid and you set out, hey, I'm gonna go to med school, I'm gonna be a doctor. I thought I was, heading off to, the land of surgery, if you will, like you said. And then it's like, no, I'm gonna go. I think there's an interesting idea. I've seen a patient problem. How do I go tackle this? And it was a very different arena and a whole new world and a whole new environment and a whole new set of lingo and things to learn.
What I love about you, really you have that story of sleeping on the couch kind of thing, right? With Summit as your co-founder too, right?
So Summit will tell you it's a futon.
Okay.
He will correct you. He'll say it's not just a couch. It was a very nice futon.
Okay.
Nice is depends on who you're asking. I actually had to sleep on it, so but for the no, it was great. Summit had some early success coming out of his PhD program in terms of getting a technology acquired by a strategic, which was awesome. Certainly helped pave the way for myself and being able to team up with him and working through the ideation, the initial technology, and then building a team that's now I think about 60 some odd people strong. Which is exciting. And it's been a fun, exciting journey of the last decade now.
And you guys incubated out of the Bay Area, right? And so came out of there and how did you guys actually get into kidney care? That's what I want to know.
Interestingly enough, as I kind of mentioned, for me, surgery was interesting. Vascular surgery in particular was interesting. Had an opportunity, interesting enough, actually one of my rotations was about 30 minutes south of here in Delaware at Christiana, and did a lot of work with a couple of the docs that did a lot of vascular access procedures. And so I got a chance to see that firsthand. Was really interesting for me. And one of the things that I kept seeing is, hey, we're going to keep seeing these folks come back with the failed access days, weeks, months later. Right? And you're going to see them repeatedly. You see this certainly as an interventional nephrologist, right? So we know that there's procedures, we know there's stuff to do, we try to surveil these patients, imaging, but effectively it was, how do you solve a sampling error problem?
Yeah.
Right? If you could get the right data, clinically actionable data at the right time, you could do an early intervention, lower cost, better for the patient, avoiding the sequelae of having to maybe put in another central catheter, sepsis, whatever can happen, right? If you could just know, you could do something simple ahead of time. So that's actually where the original idea started.
Yeah.
And we were actually going to...
but it started like almost 10 years ago, right?
So this
is not like a short-term...
This is not a short-term, no.
Quick churn and burn kind of scenario.
No, not at all. We spent actually the first about 5 years of that on actually making smart implants.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make smart bypass grafts, smart stents. Originally the idea was
an implantable, right?
Implantable, yeah. So basically we were actually putting sensors around a graft for vascular access was the original idea. At least vascular access is a place to start, and then obviously just peripheral interventions at large. Moving from there, we realized that was going to be an interesting world. In terms of, I think there's a lot of challenges. You were no longer selling a medical device. In many ways, you were selling a service. And I think that's very foreign for a lot of the, I'll say the establishment, for lack of a better term, that's out there. And so we actually decided that we needed, instead of partnering to sell the device, let's actually be in control of our own destiny. And so it was actually a Kidney on the Hill week. And Terry Litchfield, who's a dear friend to me and the company,
great patient advocate for
amazing
dialysis,
patient advocate for
dialysis,
the absolutely right, and you know her journey in terms of that, creating Lifeline right on the vascular access side, and certainly, and I remember her coming to me and she said, "Listen, Dave, you can't let this patient population down. You have an amazing technology. Figure out how to use it to help them." And went back to the team. And a couple of one of our amazing engineers, Frank, was like, "Hey," kind of gave the challenge to that engineering team of what else can we do? How can we help these patients? And it was, well, this is very close to the surface. What if we use the same technology that we've been doing to monitor the access from an implant? What if we can do it from the outside?
Got it.
So that was the original generation of the non-invasive wearable idea, was to monitor for access. And then we realized, talking to more nephrologists and dialysis providers and payers, that access is only a small part of the whole problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right? There's some other bigger issues: fluid overload, potassium issues. How do we tackle those as well? And we realized we had to make some pivots along the way to get here.
And that's the amazing thing. The pivots are what's really fascinating to me, because you think you have one trajectory, but then you shoot in another way. And what's crazy is, as an interventional nephrologist, as a nephrologist as a whole, I've been in for 13 years, I think we went through a period of like 20, 30 years of just stagnation, of no innovation, of doing the same crap over and over again. And quite honestly, like for a decade of practice, I was almost practicing the same as I was in 2010, and you start to see that innovation come in. And what you realize is, too, I find, is, in real estate, they say it's all about three things: location, location, location. With device or technology, it's all about timing, 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 right? And so, weirdly enough, we had the advancing of American Kidney Health Act, Trump Executive Order on Kidney Health Act. You have all these advances coming in at this time, and so your device really kind of fits into that mold of that timing, right? Yeah.
I think that was it's a big advantage, right? Just in terms of creating that shift towards value-based care, incentivizing it, enabling tools like remote patient monitoring to be outside of the dialysis bundle. Just things that had, I think, limited that innovation. Now there are new ways to, actually get reimbursed for it, to incentivize people. We talk a lot at Alio about aligning the 4 Ps. The patient, the physician, the provider, and the payer. Those 4 Ps aren't aligned. I think it's hard for your technology to get adopted.
Absolutely.
And that was definitely the case, I think, in nephrology a mere 4 years ago. Right. And now it's different. It's a completely
and
different
I think practices are more receptive to it now than they ever were. Like, so 4 or 5 years ago, in 2015, you came to me and be like, whatever.
Right.
But now, with the changing landscape of kidney care as a whole, I think a lot of practices are a lot more open to it. And I think patients are aware of that change as well, too. All right. With that being said, tell us about the Alio SmartPatch then, man.
Yeah. So it's a completely non-invasive wearable that you can, so that you can actually wear like a little Band-Aid. Typically worn on wherever the patient's access is. So we're starting off with your end-stage kidney disease patient. We're not going to stop there, but that's where we're starting. And with that, this is taking data intermittently throughout the day. And automatically, so the patient doesn't have to do anything. It pushes that data up to the cloud. And
it's a plug-and-play system,
so it's basically a plug-and-play system. So literally, if you can put a Band-Aid on, it's up and running.
And there's a little
hub at home that goes home with the patient. It's kind of like 2 iPhones stacked together, if you will. If you can plug that in next to your bed, great. Everything's up and running. So it's a cellular connection, so nothing for the patients to have to do, no app to download, nothing to set up. Obviously, this is a chronic, patient population, so we wanted to make it as easy. Change your phone, great. Don't worry about it. We're still helping you and your clinician make sure you're getting the best care, right? So this is taking that data throughout the day. We do a lot of very interesting things, like there's zero calibration.
Yeah.
So you don't, there's no need for you as a clinician or your nurse team or your clinical team to have to calibrate a device. You can literally hand it to them.
Yeah.
On their way out the door, which is certainly neat. We auto calibrate for skin color, for example. I think that's really important. You think about health equity. I think it's important to make sure we get the best and most accurate data for everyone. So we actually auto calibrate for skin color every time we take a reading. So it really makes it simple to deploy on any patient.
Absolutely, yeah.
Go live your life, shower proof, sweat proof. Go do whatever you're gonna do.
Well, even like I think what the difference in wearables, like RPM requires 16 readings, right? And so that's dependent on patient behavior. And so with this, the wearable aspect, there's no need for a patient to do anything, and get that monitoring.
Right.
I think the most interesting component of your device is you're taking, medicine is oftentimes reactionary. And so we're looking at labs a week old. And so I think when this device, what it does is it allows us to be real time and monitor a patient live, right? And I think that's going to be a fundamental shift in healthcare as well, too, right?
Indeed. I think being able to, one of the things that we really focus on is user experience for the clinical team as well.
Yeah.
We don't want to burden you with extra data to trawl through. We want to be able to give you a notification that your patient is outside of where you want them to be. And so we kind of leverage the KDIGO guidelines or the international guidelines around managing kidney patients, kidney disease, to that effect. And so being able to then tell you your patient their potassium is too high, or your patient is fluid overloaded, that's something that we get a chance to do.
Yeah.
Help manage their drugs that manage their anemia, for example.
Yeah.
With highly accurate, clinically actionable data.
Yeah.
In real time. But in real time, I think once again for the audience, doesn't have to mean that your clinical team is a slave to the computer.
Yeah.
At the same time, they can get an email notification at their cadence that they want, et cetera.
Before we go over this, I want to skip over a point. You are the first ever FDA-approved device to measure potassium non-invasively, correct?
Right. So we are FDA cleared. That is no small feat.
That's no small feat. So, yeah. I was letting you beat the chest a little bit to kind of let people know about that. Yeah. So that's such an important metric in nephrology, particularly on our dialysis patients on those days that they're not on dialysis, right? We just don't know what their potassiums are doing, and you see this high mortality, particularly on those 2-day holidays or 2-day weekends, right, off dialysis. And you wonder, is that the potassium playing a role there, right? And so those are always very that's a metric we need to understand. That can be real time and can have effects. So
you bring up a hyperkalemia leading to cardiac rhythm abnormality, leading to potential sudden cardiac death and stroke is a big cause of mortality in this patient population. And being able to let the clinician know when that patient is outside of the bounds of normal. Yeah. And allowing you to immediately go into your clinical workflow to try and assess that, I think is important. Absolutely. I think that was a really neat opportunity for us to be able to do so.
And what I find too, we talked about the technological innovation coming in at this phase, that wave of that, but also just the value-based medicine play, right? Like, again, like trying to prevent things that we should have been preventing, hospitalizations and all these other things, is kind of fitting that wave of technology like these, right?
Right, indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So I'm going to ask you one last question.
Okay.
And it's just a quick, whatever's on your brain. Okay. What is the future of kidney care?
I think the future of kidney care is, in 10 years, I think you're going to see a really neat blend of the patient's data optimizing their kidney care. So I think in 10 years, you're going to see, I think there's a really neat journey to be had. You're going to see home systems that are ingesting the data that the patient has effectively given them, if you will, by a wearable, whatever it might be, throughout the day, and totally effectively auto-titrating dialysis, for example, for patients, right? So being able to say, the machine automatically knows
your potassium
is a little high, your fluid's a little low.
Not
so
a one size fits all.
It's not going to be one size fits all. I think it's really going to be, and that's where we want to go, right? Everything in the world is about precision medicine and being there for the patient. And I think dialysis can be too.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for being here, Dave.
Thanks.
Awesome seeing you, man.
Appreciate it as always. Thank you. Appreciate it.